Hi, me again. Um, John was asking two questions, and I'm going to go ahead and answer them. And I really hope no one minds if I get a little bit irate in this. But I'm going to try to go as organic as possible and be as honest as possible. The first question John had was, "What is your IQ?" Talking to me. Um, I don't like IQ tests. The reason I don't like IQ tests is because although they can be an indicator of something possibly being wrong, they are not the be all end all scope. If it was, then we wouldn't need anything else. We could start excluding people for low IQs from ever going to university and give them jobs waving to people and welcoming them at a store like Walmart. But in all honesty, an IQ test has to do with your aptitude for the IQ test. I will say that my IQ is high. Um, Specifically in reference to your question, it is at or above the genius level. That being said, the second question actually bugs me a little bit, and this is why. Um, I didn't come from a wealthy family. Neither did my wife. Neither did our best friend. But among us, we were able to accumulate over time two PhDs and an MBA. Not to mention random points of interest that we pursued on our own. Um, that being said, to specify, I have a PhD in psychology with a specialty towards social interaction and social development. Um, in terms of that, I mainly studied social disorders for my PhD. My master's is in abnormal psychology, dealing with non-responsive or non-communicative patients. Um, that being said, my wife has a master's degree in avian genetics, which is birds, and her PhD is in human genetics. And our best friend has an MBA. All three of us came from extremely humble backgrounds. Of the three of us, my wife is the only one who ate meat every day. Two of us grew up on a farm, and the reason my wife grew up eating meat every day was she grew up on a cattle farm. Um, we were not well off. We made this life that we have. In our household, it's commonly accepted that you find the knowledge that you want, you wrestle it to the ground, you put your shin across its windpipe, and you make it give up its secrets. And we were actually together when the internet came about, and I was flabbergasted by it. I was over the moon about it. And it sort of twinges at me when people ask the question of, is there a way to get the education without going to university? The question I would have in response is why? If it is at all possible, to go to school and extend your education past the free one that you get, do it. Because while you can get some information through remote learning, and I am a fan of that if there is no other option, I think you lose the ability to be moved by teachers. You lose the ability to have that relationship. And by relationship, I understand that professors have hundreds of students because they have a lot of information to dispense to a lot of people. But there's still a connection there. Uh, Professors care whether or not you get it. Most of them do. The vast majority of professors I have met are not in it for the money because, well, professors don't get paid that much. It's about the love of sharing that information. Personally, I don't teach. This is one of the ways that I share it. When I'm not doing this, I'm in an audio-visual chat room discussing things with people and trying to give them information whenever they want it and sometimes when they don't. But there are tools out there for it. But before I dispense any of them, I'm going to say it from the word go. If You have the ability to go to a university. Do it. Do it. And when you go, don't go expecting Animal House Part 6. It is what you make of it. If you drink all night and sleep in class, then that's what you're going to get. If you go in trying to memorize facts so you can regurgitate them out, then that's all you're going to get. If you go in and you try to grab onto every concept you can and shove it into your head until you feel like your brain is full, you will come out with so much knowledge. Because a fact can be applied in answer to what is this fact. A concept can be used to basically define almost any situation where it could be a factor. It's huge. If you take physics, you walk in knowing temperature as what it says on the thermometer, but you don't know what that means until you take physics. Physics will tell you how fast something will drop and why. I, well, the elements are always going to be the same. That's the funny part. They're not. Some elements are man-made, and that's from a refinement process. And that's incredibly interesting. That means that information when I was young is wrong, and I get to relearn it. That's the beauty of it. I know resources where you can find more information on these concepts because I'm never done. I go through other people's video links, and yes, I hit the regular ones. I go to Thunderfoot's videos to, hit his commentary not only on, rational thought versus, non-rational thought, but also for commentary on physics. He did a piece recently talking about the lunar eclipse, and I was excited about that. Unfortunately, it was cloudy in my area. Um, But I digress. There are resources out there, and I would recommend that you take advantage of them, but not as a this or that kind of thing, but more as a I want to isolate exactly what interests me. Because if you have something that interests you, there's a field of study for it. Filmmaking is completely different from physics, is completely different from biology, is completely different from microbiology. There are so many facets, and one of them can strike a chord with you. And once it does, that's going to be something that you will follow through for the rest of your life. That being said, if you wanted to refine your search, not in place of, to refine your search, or if you want to add on to your knowledge, one of the best resources that I've personally found is the University of California at Berkeley has a YouTube channel. On this channel, they have the actual lectures from their classes. It's a beautiful thing. I I will spend time, lots of time, more time than I intend to sometimes, watching lectures on molecular biology. Um, Introductory physics. I'll recap things that I already know just so I can make sure that I'm still right. And some people may be asking themselves, well, what do you mean still right? Science is right anyway. No, it's not. It changes. When I was young, all dinosaurs were lizards. They were reptiles, and their closest living relative would be the alligator. With the advanced knowledge that we have now, we know that dinosaurs were more like birds, and going by the DNA protein strands and things that they did in England, they're talking now about how the closest relative to the Tyrannosaurus Rex is actually a chicken. That's amazing. These are things that we need to know. Why? Because someone else found it out for us. You don't have to be the person who says, hey, maybe dinosaurs were warm-blooded. How would I figure that out? Someone figured out that you could check the oxidation level in the bones, even through fossils. It's a beautiful thing. You can read what they did. They have papers on it. And there are running jokes about how when you publish your paper, no one's ever going to read it. It's not really true. Most of the time, someone will. I will. It's it's something where I'm afraid to just say go to the University of California Berkeley's channel and and just watch the lectures there, because then you can walk away saying I got the same thing that I would have gotten from there. No, you didn't. You can't ask them a question. And at the end of it, you don't have the degree. And I said for years I didn't think the degree mattered. It did. It did. It meant so much to me to get that. And I can honestly say that I finished it 5 months too late. My mother passed away before I became a PhD, before I became Dr. Maitland. And that was one of the big things that was important to her. And I play the what if game. What if I had started just a touch earlier? So, I don't want anyone else out there to turn into an old man who throws in classes whenever he can, trying to make enough credits, and doesn't even talk at work about it. It's an important thing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something at the university level. It could be car mechanics. You could find the joy of understanding diesel engines, but even then you can add on to it by understanding the combustion theory that makes it work. You have to get all you can out of this life, and there are people who are willing to give it to you. So, in answer to your questions, I have a high IQ, but I don't think that matters as much. But definitely, don't don't forego a college education just because you don't know if it's for you. You can find that out. They will talk to you. And make sure you go to a university that's reputable, because their reputation depends directly on how good of a product they put out. Talk to people who've gone there and choose wisely. Don't go on the basis of who's listed as the party college, because eventually the party ends. And if I seem like I'm overly serious about this point, I really am. If you love something, there's no way it can ever be boring. And if you party too much and fall asleep in class, or you don't get what you need out of your education, that's at least half your fault. And if you hit a bad situation where you don't feel like you're getting enough attention, there are tutors. I've worked as a tutor, proudly. I have taken tutelage, proudly. I've sought tutoring in classes that I wasn't really taking, I was just auditing. But there is an option there. No matter what, there's an option there. So don't deprive yourself of it. And don't imagine that someone who knows a little bit about everything is like some type of superhero misfit of science. There was an accident in the lab and all of a sudden I get quantum physics. Well, no one gets quantum physics, but just remember to start with what interests you the most, then monkey bar from there and find everything that interests you. And you will get greedy for it. You will want it. And no one will ever be able to take it away from you once you understand it. And when you go over to exoticenvy.com, our sponsor, once you buy something from them, I don't think anyone can take it away from you either. But if you're over 18, go over and check out their thing. I always try to segue that in, but I'm really serious about this. If you have the opportunity, definitely extend your education as much as you can, any way you can. Try to be good to each other.